Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to the post-lunch session of the 5-day faculty development program on the nurturing today's learners to become tomorrow's leaders to face global challenges. So we have amidst us Shri K.N. Praveen, a KAS officer, Assistant Commissioner, Bangalore Development Authority. I have the privilege of welcoming Praveen sir. So a hearty welcome to Praveen sir. Thank you, sir. On behalf of the organizing committee, on behalf of Ramaiah Institute of Technology, Industrial Engineering and Management Department, and the participants, I extend a warm welcome. To Mr. Praveen. So I have the privilege of introducing Praveen to the participants. So Praveen obtained his BE degree in Electronics and Communications, then proceeded on to pursue his higher studies. So he has a MBA degree in Human Resources. Presently, he is a Special Land Acquisition Officer, Bangalore Development Authority. Earlier assignments include Officer in Special Duty to then Chief Secretary Ratnam Prabha during the year 2018, Officer in Special Duty to then Social Welfare Minister Priyanka Kharge sir, Nodal Officer for Startup Cell, Department of IT and BT, Government of Karnataka during the period 2016 to 2018, Nodal Officer for setting up of IIT Raichur, Nodal Officer for setting up of IIT Dharwad, Nodal Officer for Yadgir Taluk to plan the overall development of the Taluk under Nanjundappa Committee for backward classes, Flood Monitoring Officer for Haveri Taluk during the year 2019, presently working as a Special Land Acquisition Officer, Bangalore Development Authority for Shivram Karanth Layout, appointed as per the directions of the Supreme Court of India. His achievements include the following: represented state government at Prime Minister's Award for Excellence in Public Administration at Delhi in the year 2017 and won the second prize. Successfully conducted the Bangalore Tech Summit during the year 2016 to 2020, was a part of the core team which drafted the startup policy for the government of Karnataka. We have a special officer, an assistant commissioner of the rank of KAS. So we have with us Shri Praveen. So on behalf of the audience, on behalf of the live audience and on behalf of the participants here, I extend a warm welcome again to Praveen sir.
Thank you.
And I now request Praveen to take over. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Is this okay? Clear? This is cool. Yeah. Right? So good afternoon, everybody. First up, thanks to the management team out over here. They've been very kind and gracious enough to invite me to deliver a small guest lecture on the topic how to build leadership skills. Hi, for one, I can empathize with all of you out there. It's 2:30 p.m. in the afternoon. And way back when I was an officer, I used to attend training classes. I can always understand how 2:30 p.m. is going to be all about. Well, ladies and gentlemen, and my dear friends and colleagues, I'm a guy who's having a corporate experience also, so I can gel with you. And I have a 2 years of experience as a faculty member, having taught ICFI Business School also. I used to teach HR. All these things happened as a short cap arrangement before I actually got into civil services. So I can correlate with you. I can understand your language. I can speak the bureaucratic language also. And let's have a small protocol. The protocol is, we'll not have a protocol. Okay. I want it to be a very interactive session, because I, for one, believe that if at all any questions are there in your mind, you need to clarify it there and then itself. My teacher used to tell me, carrying doubts is a crime. Carrying doubts is a big crime. So never carry any doubts. If you have any doubts, please raise your hand. Let's try to solve it out. Okay. Can I have some water, please? Yeah. My topic for today is very, very important. Why I say this is important is, most of you who are actually present in this webinar today, you're all on the cusp of becoming great leaders. You're already leaders, but leadership is a continuous process. We want to grow and grow. So in that context, leadership becomes very, very important. Now, the big question is, can we develop leadership? Because there was a time when people used to make claims saying that leaders are born, they're not made. Is it true? Is it true? Somebody wants to take a call on that? I, for one, don't believe that leaders are born. Leaders can be made. It's a skill. It can be developed. You can build on your core skills and build leadership skills also. So today, for the next 1.5 hours, I'm going to take you through my experiences, through my real-time experiences, along with some leadership theories also, 1 or 2, just to touch base upon that. Plus, I'm also going to touch upon few traits of world leaders and what we can actually learn from them. The idea is to see that at the end of 1.5 hours of my presentations, I want all of you, ladies and gentlemen out over there, to go home with a feeling that, yes, I can become a world-class leader. Becoming a world-class leader is very much possible. It is very much within my limits. So on that front, let's all get into this journey, a beautiful journey of learning leadership skills. So protocol number 1, any doubts, please raise your hand. You're most welcome to ask any questions anytime. Just raise your hands. Okay, here we go. Slide. Okay. This is the topic which we're going to speak about, discuss about, interact with. I want you also to actually interact with me. How to build leadership skills. We have a table of content, something like this. This is what the flow is going to be about for the next 1.5 hours. First up, we'll possibly try to figure out evolution of a leader, then types of leadership. Then we'll also touch base upon transformational leadership. We'll have some snippets of world-class leaders. Then I'll share my real-time experiences. And finally, we have the 10 commandments. Are we good to go? Yes. Okay, here we go. What does Peter Delisle tell about leadership? It is the ability to influence others with or without authority. A lot of people have authority. Like we bureaucrats, we have a government given authority, so we can exercise leadership. Does it mean that a person without authority cannot become a leader? Point to think over. You need to ponder upon this. Yes, the following few slides will definitely answer that question. With authority or without authority, you can definitely become a world-class leader. Okay. What are the most important ingredients to develop our skills, to develop our leadership skills? Who are the key players? First one is the person himself. For example, if I want to develop my leadership skills and want to become a world-class leader, I need to work upon myself first. I need to understand my core strength areas and my core weakness areas also. Before I actually want to become a world-class leader, I need to understand what are my strengths, what are my weaknesses. And obviously, you alone cannot become a leader if you don't have followers with you. So you need to understand a set of people. You need to understand how to deal with different set of people. Okay, I read good books. I read wonderful, I collect a lot of information. So does it make me a good leader? Definitely not. You need to figure out the type of people you have around you. What type of people you have around you. And how do I actually maintain the relationship vis-a-vis that type of people? You cannot have the same set of style of leadership for every different mindsets of people. You need to have a different type of leadership style. I'll just come up on that. The following few slides we'll talk about that. So next up is the tasks, the goals, the objectives. You need to have something. Okay, this is the task. What is the type of people I'm going to assign that task to that person? So leader has to think what is good for that person. Is he able to do that task, or can he do something better? If he lacks that skills, leader has to find out what the skill is lacking. So the leader actually works around the people, around the task also. Okay. Person, people, task. Is it fine? Is it fine? Can anybody possibly take up this call? Okay. How did Mahatma Gandhi become a great leader? Did he have all the qualities? Anybody wants to take a call? Ma'am, you want to take a call?
Yes, I would want to answer this question.
Yeah.
Mahatma Gandhi did not have all the leadership skills.
Okay.
He developed because of the circumstances that he faced.
Excellent. Ma'am is telling that Mahatma Gandhi became a leader because of the circumstances he faced. Excellent. Anything else you want to add, sir? We have a wonderful learned audience out over here. Because of the webinar, we are having shortage of in-house members.
Yes.
Okay. Ma'am is very much right in the fact that she's telling Mahatma Gandhi evolved as a leader because the situations were such that it required the entire nation to actually come together for a common cause, and Mahatma Gandhi was there because he had faced a similar situation. He was thrown out of the train. He had a real life experience. Then he actually thought about the plight of other fellow men in India. He decided, if I, a learned guy, can be thrown out of the train, what is the plight of all my fellow countrymen in India? The situation became such that Gandhi decided to lead the entire nation. If the situation, excuse me, battery is running low. If the situation was not up there, if Gandhi wasn't actually removed out of the train, possibly we may very well would have had a different history to tell our children. But yes, this gentleman, Mahatma Gandhi, was thrown out. That was the situation. How about Nelson Mandela? If Nelson Mandela was born in South Africa today, doubtful, would he attain that status? The situation demanded the rise of the leader. There's a saying in English, cometh the hour, cometh the man. Cometh the hour, cometh the man. So these two great personalities, like Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela, were the products of the situation. So I, for one, will tell you, leadership is all about the person, the people around, the task, and the situation. All these four put together, you have a new leader emerging. Okay, all these four parameters are there. If the person doesn't improve, then obviously he's not going to be a leader. Okay, person is good. People around are also good enough. They're good followers. Tasks, everything is fine. Situation doesn't warrant it. The situation is absolutely normal. There might not be an emergence of a leader in the same vein as Mahatma Gandhi and Nelson Mandela emerged. But then, yes, we have different types of proactive leaders. It doesn't always mean that situation has to actually be an impetus. You can have good leaders develop based on the proactive skills also. I'll just pause for a few moments over here. Anybody, you have any questions, you can just take a question here. Otherwise, I'll move on to my next slide. Anybody, please feel free. My teacher used to tell me, if a guy was speaking on the other side, if he's able to convince everybody, then there will not be any questions. Otherwise, you might not have possibly convinced anybody. I, for one, take it that I have convinced you people regarding the most important circumstances. Okay, we'll get on to the next slide. This is the slide which I would just touch upon three types of leadership, because I don't want it to make it theoretical. I want it to be more of a practical one with based on my real life experiences and whatever actually I have learned from real life experiences. What does this managerial grid style talk about? Managerial grid. Okay, ma'am, most of them are from corporate also, isn't it? Okay. Whenever we want to actually achieve something, what do we actually do? We have a task on one hand, we have people on the other hand. Some of the managers with whom I actually worked, they have different styles. So this managerial grid style is by Blake and Mountain. They speak about 5 types of leadership styles in this grid. A person can be very highly focused on task. He doesn't care a damn about people's, he's not empathetic at all. He's not worried about people's concerns. He's not worried about people's problems, but he's absolutely focused only on task. He's more like an Hitlerian guy. But this guy works very much on task. His focus is on task. He's very low on people's empathy. He is this typical authoritarian style. I don't care about what happens to you. I want the work done. There are managers out there, but definitely this is not the best style, I would say. On the complete opposite, you have managers who try to be pally. I wouldn't call them leaders, because these are managers who try to be pally with everybody, who want to be friends with A, B, C, D, E, F. They're so high on people's concern. If that guy wants to have a holiday, can take 2 days leave, 3 days leave. He's more about pleasing people. What about the task? He's not at all worried about task. He tells, okay, chalta hai. We can do it later on. So this type of people You call it as country club management. These type of leaders you can possibly find only in places like Walt Disney and Disney Park and things like that. Because here your focus is more on people pleasing, less on task. These two are not actually advisable. More focus on only task, definitely not advisable. More focus on only people pleasing, this is also not advisable. So what is advisable? For me, what is advisable is the 9-9 grid. 9-9 grid talks about I concern for people's problems and concern for task also. That guy who is 9 on 9 is focused on delivering the task. At the same time, he's focused on taking care of the employees. One of my friends used to tell, when I was working in TVS, I have a TVS experience. I actually worked as HR manager in TVS Chennai. He used to tell, Mr. Praveen, do you know the difference between a leader and a manager? I was shocked. Those are my initial days. I said, manager gets the things done. Leader also gets the things done. So what's the difference between a manager and a leader? I want some of you to answer here. You're all great guys. Why are you silent? Is it, you might be silent because you might have had a very heavy lunch. Or there might be some other reason. What is the difference? Ma'am, we will give them some gift. We'll give them a dairy milk chocolate. Okay, we'll parcel it. I mean it. Get me this answer. What is the difference between a leader and a manager?
Leader motivates
the
and leads.
participants
You can
kindly
also
know
type. You can also type.
the mic
Yeah,
is
voice. Mr. Meena Sinha
yeah.
has raised a hand. Dr. Meena
Yes.
Sinha.
Yes.
Please,
Good
madam, please go
evening.
ahead. Can I have
Thank
the
you
sound?
so much for the opportunity. Manager works within the system
Backslide.
and leader works on the system.
Sounds, please. Yeah.
Am I audible to you?
Yeah. You're audible, ma'am. Yeah. Go ahead,
Yes. So manager works within the system and leader works on the system.
please. You got me into preposition, English prepositions.
Yes, indeed. Thank you.
Leader leads by example and thinks out of the box, but manager works within its periphery and he has a certain kind of limitation, but a leader doesn't look into it.
I think you can always, we can share the chocolates with you. But the best example, best answer which I got from my friend was something which was more of a breakthrough moment for me. Why I say it's a breakthrough moment? Because I thought a manager manager gets the things done, leader inspires, leader motivates, everything fine. But what the answer which I got literally changed the way I started looking at leadership. He said, managers will get things done in his presence. A true leader inspires to such an extent that things get done in his absence. We might think about n number of theories. We might study 10, 20 theories, but the simple crux, I'll tell you, my dear friends, it's just that leader, you actually work for your leader. If a leader has inspired you to such an extent, you work for him in his absence because you want the team to win. You don't want to let your leader. You are ready to work in his absence. If you can be that leader and get your employees to work in your absence, this is the biggest challenge. You have won the race, my dear friends. Manager is okay. He's paid for it. He gets the things done. He tells you, okay, hey boss, I'm going to give you a carrot. Otherwise, I'm going to give you a stick. But a true leader inspired to such an extent that you work in his absence. So all those two people who tried, we can give you a chocolate eclairs. I'm always available at Bangalore. I am the special land acquisition officer. You can always be in touch. But I'll definitely share that chocolate with you, because you guys, you actually took the lead to answer this question. This is one of the hallmarks of a great leader. Great leaders take initiatives. So you people can have a pat on your back, because in this very moment, you actually came out of the inhibition and came out with answers. This is also one of the hallmarks, and you have the traits of becoming a great leader. Take the initiatives, my dear friends, and you are there. Small things like this definitely matter. So you deserve a pat on your back. You will get a chocolate from my side, and it's a soldier's word. Okay. So we have a people pleaser, we have a taskmaster, but what we want is a 9-on-9 leadership. I just wanted to give you a small intro to this so that I can refer back to these leadership styles. So anything on this managerial grid, if you have a question, please raise your hands, because next part, I'm going to touch upon a different style of leadership, which is unique, which I'm a fan of. If any questions, I'll just pause for 10 seconds. Otherwise, we'll get back to the next slide. You have any questions, sir? Okay.
Now, I had a question.
Yes, please. Ma'am has a question here.
Why you were selected as a probationary officer?
Mhm.
Did they train you for the leadership or did you possess it?
Ma'am has got a very good question, which is actually putting me on the quiz master's role. I mean, it's something like Amitabh Bachchan asking a question. Did I have leadership skills, or did they train me in leadership skills during my probationary days? Well, yes, we have a similar institute like Lal Bahadur Shastri National Academy for IAS officers. We have a similar institute in Mysore called as Administrative Training Institute. But what actually happened here in Administrative Training Institute was we were trained in administrative matters, less on leadership skills. But these leadership skills, we actually learned it in my MBA days. When I was doing my MBA at SDM IMD in Mysore, Dharmasthala Manjunatheshwara Institute for Management Development, at that time during 99 to 2001, we were ranked in the top 30. And we had a CAT percentile, that time CAT percentile was not available. We had a MAT percentile. I had 99.5, something like that. But for me, to answer ma'am's question, at ATI, I honestly didn't develop any leadership skills per se, but yes, I trained myself in all the administrative aspects. The confidence definitely was there because I knew more about it. I knew more about my subject. So leader has to be well informed. That is also one of the key parameters which I'm going to talk about in the future slides. But yes, SDM IMD, we were supposed to do a case studies. It was not the typical 10 standard second PUC engineering type of studies. We had a case study wherein we had to go and present it in front of the audience and find out a solution. We were actually put on a solution finding mode. We were trained in the sense, Mr. Praveen, we don't want problems. Everybody knows the problems. Give us the solutions. Think out of the box. We want solutions from you. This is what we were taught in our MBA classes. MBA classes, I owe a lot to that because I honed my leadership skills over there. Because it allowed me to change my mindset from describing a problem methodology to actually finding a solution. So whatever happens, if somebody comes to me with a problem, I tell, okay, boss, fine, fair enough. Your problem noted, taken care of. What's the solution? Let's be a part of the solution. So this was a mindset change which I had, madam, in my SDM IMD days. But yes, administrative experiences. I'll share that in the few slides thereafterwards. You developed real lifetime experience. I'll share that. There's a wonderful story. I'll share that in another half an hour or so. So it's a more continuous process. I wouldn't say that, okay, I developed my leadership skills at SDM IMD. I'm a leader. Definitely not. It's a continuous, evolving process. The moment
जैसे मैन पावर का लिख लीजिए, एक जगह सेगमेंटेड कर दीजिए,
Somebody is
एक जगह आप दिखा दीजिए
excuse me. Hello.
रिसर्च असिस्टेंट का इतना दे रहे हैं और जो और है
Somebody is speaking.
I
I request you. I request madam, please put off your mic. I request madam to please put off your mic. Hello. Ma'am. Hello. Please kindly put off your mic. Yeah. Good. Yeah, okay, good. Just a minute. We are muting the person. Possibly that gentleman or lady is not aware. So we'll just mute that person. Yeah. Go back. Okay. Now I'll get back to the second part of the slide. This is about situational leadership style. The previous one talked about managerial leadership style, managerial grid. What happened? Anything?
I'm not aware that we can be heard.
Is that a problem?
No, we
Okay. Well, situational leadership style makes a sudden paradigm shift from what people thought. People actually thought before that leaders are born. Okay, Mahatma Gandhi's son, he will become a leader because gene theory, trait theory, and all those things. The situational leadership is very, very important from a managerial viewpoint, from an organizational viewpoint. I'll just touch base upon this for a few moments. Now, what is situational leadership? As the name itself stands, it's situation based. Okay, fine. Situation based, agree. But why is that we are having 4 types of leadership styles? The directing styles, the coaching styles, the supporting style, and the delegating style. Anybody wants to take a call on this? They're muted, right? No, sir. Okay. So anybody wants to take a call? Now I'll just tell you, Tendulkar was the best batsman. I have a fantasy for cricket. Virat Kohli is also a very good batsman. Now, how does he play the fast bowlers in England's seaming conditions? And how does he play spinners in Indian pitches? You cannot bat in your own style 365 days a year. You have to adapt your style of batting. So Kohli adapts his style of batting. In England conditions, the way he plays is different. When he comes and plays the same bowler, James Anderson, in India, he plays it differently. If he was playing Muthiah Muralidharan, his style is different. If he was playing Shane Warne, his style is different. Facing a fast bowler in India, style is different. Facing a fast bowler in West Indies, style is different. Why I'm emphasizing this point here is a true leader has to change his style according to the follows. This is what situational leadership tells you, and this is what it actually conveys. Now, what is directing? What is coaching? What is supporting? What is delegating? This is quite interesting. It's getting more interesting. Now, I'll tell you, there's an attender in your organization. He might possibly not know much regarding, the geographies. He is not so much learned. Possibly he's an attender. So what's the style of leadership we're going to tell? And I got madam out over here. I got sir out over here. They're very learned, very capable. So do I give directions to sir here? Do I give directions to ma'am who is very well learned and very much capable? And there's an attender over here. Now, if I tell that, okay, I'm a 9-on-9 guy, okay, I'm a people guy, I'll just cater to their needs. Is it the best way? No, I need to adapt my style of leadership, just like the car gear. You have a gear 1, gear 2, gear 3, gear 4. Gear 4 is you run the car on the highway when everything is smooth, the roads are smooth, car is smooth, top gear. What about your driving style when you're going up the terrain? You have to be cautious, because that's where you actually get into the driving gear number 1. So similarly, when you are dealing with a person who is not so knowledgeable, you actually give him very, very clear directions. That is when we use the style of directing. Otherwise, it is called as the telling style of leadership. You tell, okay, gentlemen, come here. Hey, Mr. Ram, come here. I want to get you 4 masala dosas, 3 bhajis from that hotel. You give him clear directions. Or you tell that director, the driver, my boss is coming from Chennai, go to the airport, go to platform number 9, then show the placard, then he will call you. You're giving him clear directions. But this style of giving clear directions, I cannot do it to sir out over here. I cannot do it to madam out over here. Because if I give this style of directions to madam and sir, they will feel offended. Hey, what nonsense is Mr. Praveen speaking? He's speaking as if we don't know anything. So the best style of leadership style for ma'am and sir out over here, who are very learned, who are very much capable, is delegating style. I delegate the work to sir, I delegate the work to ma'am. Ma'am, I am a friend who is coming from Australia. He is from embassy. Please kindly take care of him. That's it. That's it. You delegate the work, ma'am will take care of it. No need of giving them directly. If madam asks some questions, some leading questions, I can possibly help her. Because she has been in that high position. She has been in the know-how of our organization. I would possibly tell, ma'am, please handle the delegate. And when we had a Bangalore Tech Summit way back, I had the privilege of being a protocol officer for the then Deputy Prime Minister of Bangladesh. She was the chief guest in 2017 for our Bangalore Tech Summit. She had come from Bangladesh. But before that, our chief secretary, we had a roundtable conference. We had a meeting and the chief secretary asked me, Mr. Praveen, you're from the corporate background. You have administrative experience also. You have done a protocol also. I was undersecretary for protocol. I know how the protocol actually runs. Whenever the president of India comes, we actually do a recce. And we actually, do one round of preparatory running around the airport, coming back, all these things. Everything is checked out in detail. So the chief secretary, sir, actually delegated the work to me, saying, Mr. Praveen, you handle it, that's it. He didn't tell me, go there, do this, that. No, nothing doing. Because he saw the capabilities in me. He thought that Mr. Praveen is capable of doing this work, and I was willing to do. 2 variables, capabilities and the willingness. You can't actually see the capability, and if I was not willing, you cannot delegate a job to any person like that. You should have the capability, you should have the willingness, only then you delegate the job. So telling style is used for people who are not so informed, who are not having clear directions. Give them clear directions, the attenders. Delegating style, I just told you. I mean, just before I forget, the great leader Dhirubhai Ambani, he was once asked by Times of India newspaper, Mr. Ambani, what's your secret? You seem to be becoming a leader. Wherever you go, you set base. You seem to shine everywhere. How is that you are not finding any failures? And obviously you're not omnipresent. You can't be a god, you can't be in Australia, you can't be in Asia, you can't be in America, you can't be in Europe all the time. But what is the secret, Mr. Ambani? Now, this was a question posed to Dhirubhai Ambani. What might be his answer? Anybody wants to take a call? I just spoke about that for the last 1.5 minutes. Anybody?
He delegates the job, right job to the right person.
Super. I salute you. I salute sir also here. That's what Ambani said. He said, what he said? He said it in the second sentence. The first sentence was, hire, H-I-R-E, hire the right person. Hire the right person. Second sentence important, and delegate the job. Hire the wrong person, delegate the job, you're gone. Hire the right person and you don't delegate, you're also still gone. Because obviously, when you hire the right person, you'll be having a lot of credentials, a lot of ego. So hire the right person and delegate the job. And further, he went and said, I hire smart people who are more smarter than me and delegate the job to them. So that's the secret of success. So you want to be great leaders, you can take a cue from what Dhirubhai Ji did. So hire the right person and delegate the job. So this is a beautiful style. But if you use this delegating style for a guy who is not at all informed, then you are doomed. Oh, he's my cousin. Let me have in my organization. Definitely not. You will become an emotional fool. Keep your cousins away. Keep your son away. If he's capable enough, hand willing enough, only then delegate the job. I have a different set. What about people who are capable and not willing to do the job? You will find a lot of people like this in the organization. Capable, not willing to do the job. What do you do then? What do you do? I want some answers from you. I think a lot of you people might have possibly come across.
Encourage them to come into the periphery of the system.
Encourage them to come into the periphery of the system. Motivate them. Sorry, selling, motivate them. Yeah, I think you're all coming very much there. Something more? Something more?
Reward them for the work done.
Reward them for the work done. Fair enough. Good enough.
Or another word could be fire them and hire the persons who are really motivated to do the job.
Fire them.
And take new people who are really motivated and who also want to.
But what if I tell that this is your Lagan team? You're supposed to play the game with only them. Just for the game per se. I tell them, okay, this is a Lagan team and this is the team you're going to have till your December. You're not supposed to fire. I'm just giving you a chance to challenge yourself in terms of leadership skills. What are you going to do? Obviously, you can't delegate because he's not willing, very capable. If you're capable and willing, you would have given him delegating style. But this guy is capable, not at all willing. I at least find these type of people, at least 60% of the people I find in my organization, in the government bureaucratic setup, are like that. Capable, why should I do it? If I do it, Mr. Praveen will take the credit. Why should I tell the secret? Let him come to me. Why should I give the success to him on a platter? I know the secret, why should I tell him? Not only my organization, not only the bureaucratic setup, I think a lot of people, whosoever is actually listening to me right now, you might have faced these type of people. Take it from me.
Make them the part of the system and motivate them that this achievement is also a type of achievement for them.
Good.
Internally
I think you're
motivate them.
very close. What's your name, sir?
Arijit Gupta from West Bengal.
Arijit Gupta, you deserve a chocolate here. Come on. I fight to you. I fight to you. Excellent. You nailed it. You make him a part of system. You make him a part of system. How do you make him a part of system? You actually get him into the participative mode. You ask him questions. Hey, Ramesh, what do you feel here? What's your idea, Mr. Ramesh? You know that he's a smart guy. You ask him, Ramesh, hey, what's about your idea, man? Do let us know so that we will also learn from you. So Ramesh feels the importance. So Ramesh feels that Mr. Praveen is actually seeking his advice, seeking his opinion in the conference room. Is feeling more important. Is feeling that he is a part of the decision-making process. Make him feel important. So whenever you feel important, somebody, if your boss asks you, Mr. Arijit, what's your opinion? How do you feel? So then you feel important and you become a part of the decision-making process. You actually get him into the participative mode. It is called as your supporting system. You actually get him there. That's your participative style. This type of people are very, very, very tough, I'll tell you. You can't delegate, you can't use directing style, you can't use the telling style. You have to use the participative or the supporting style. Hey boss, come here, come, Ramesh, come. You are a part of our team, come here, come. That's the way you actually motivate. If you can get these type of people to work for you, believe me, you have won 90% of your race. Easy to work with telling style, delegating style, but these type of people who are not willing, that's a challenge. The other one is the coaching. There are people, who feel, sir, I'm curling. I don't have the skills, sir. I want to do it, but I don't have the skills. So what to do? So they're the other side of people. You actually motivate them. You tell them, boss, why don't you get trained? You give them training. No, they're also high on directive, but tell them, boss, it's called a selling style or coaching style. You coach them. Hey, come over here. You can do it here. You can do it. See, I see the talent in you. You can do it. So try to motivate that guy and tell him you have the potential, but because you're not trained in that, you can do it. Once you get the right training, you can do it. This is coaching style is rather easy. Telling style is okay. They will listen to you. Coaching style, that guy is willing, but you are ready to coach him. You are ready to give him training. Delegating style and your participative style. That's a supporting style. If we can get these 3 and 4 quadrants, the supporting and the delegation, believe me, my dear friends, you have won the race. The biggest challenge for a leader comes in handling these type of people. Any questions here? I just added 2 examples of George S. Patton. He's a World War II hero, and Colin Powell. I'll not touch much about it because we have a lot many slides to cover. Any questions here? So 3 chocolates to go, ma'am. Arijit Gupta and other 2 members, you just keep in touch with me. I'll share my number also. I'll share the chocolates with you. Okay. Any questions? Situation leadership. Any questions here?
I posted something in the chat box. There are some questions in the chat box.
Sir is helping me out with some questions in the chat box. Yes, please, sir. Just keep a tab on time. Like, what are? What's the time? 3:30 till 4:30. And there are question answers after that. Okay. Yeah.
So there's a question on, there is a fear at times to work with the manager, but leaders make you fear free.
Is that a question or is that a statement?
It's a statement, it's not a question. They just posted it in the chat.
Okay. I'm getting a wonderful statement from one of the fellow members who is watching this webinar. The statement is, there
is a fear at times to work with the manager.
There's a fear at times when you work with a manager, but you don't have the fear with a leader.
Leaders make you fear.
Absolutely. I mean, you also nailed it rightly. When you're working with a manager, he's more focused on task. When you're with a leader, obviously, he takes care of your concerns. He takes care of company's task also. So any guy who is taking care of you as employee, obviously, is definitely a great leader. And definitely there's joy out there. And thanks for that statement. Who was the person who made that statement?
It's Professor Ritesh Sharma.
Professor Ritesh Sharma, hats off to you. Okay, I'll get on with my other slide because ma'am is telling me that I just have another few minutes, like 45 minutes. Okay. The third type of leadership is transformational leaders. There are so many leadership styles. I will not get into that. For me, what was matter what was important for me was situational leadership, because it allows you to change and adapt your style according to the people's receptive power. The other one was managerial grit. I just want to touch base that. The third one is transformation leader. They don't worry about situational leadership or managerial grit. They literally transform. By meaning transform, if they change the form. For example, Mahatma Gandhi, he transformed the entire nation. Steve Jobs, he transformed the way business is done. Bill Gates transformed the way it is done. So now we will get into that part also. Leaders who provide individualized consideration and intellectual stimulation and who possess charisma. Okay. The first transformation leader. Okay. Before that, what I actually done is, since the topic was about how to build leadership skills, I have taken one each from all these great personalities. And at the end, I have tried to summarize it based on all these put together. So with each one of these great personalities, I have tried to take one each, so that whatever theory we read, we actually correlate with one great gentleman or lady. So Mahatma Gandhi, leaders can unite people to achieve a collective goal. So the first commandment for me to actually build leadership skills is, if you can unite people to achieve a collective goal, can you become a great team builder? That's a very, very important question you need to ask, my dear friends. Because when you deal with people, you're actually dealing with different mindsets. One person is thinking about his own goals, other person is thinking about organization goals, and somebody else is thinking, okay, if I do this, that person might possibly get the credit. So why should I work? So how do you get these different mindsets to work collectively for a common goal? You need to build teams. Easier said than done, because when you're dealing with individuals, you're dealing with egos. If you are a great leader, you're definitely going to be a great team builder. My teacher used to tell me once, I don't mind being in the back seat of a car and allow the driving to be done by somebody else, as long as my car is moving. If you can get into that mode and allow somebody else to drive the car and be in the back seat, take it from me, my dear friends, you are a great team builder. The biggest problem in an organization always comes when they say there are 11 people in a cricket team, in an organization, everybody wants to be the CEO. It cannot happen like that. One more caveat for a great leader is, you have to be a follower first. If you are a follower, only then you can possibly become a great leader in the future. Because as a follower, you would have understood the problems of the common man. The great leaders like Nelson Mandela, they rose from the ranks. They rose from the ranks to the highest possible post because they could correlate with the problems of a common man. And when he was a common man, he was not a leader. He was a commoner doing common things. He spent most of his time in the jail. Nobody called him leader then. At that time, he was just a follower, common man. But then because of his ordeals, because of the pains he underwent as a commoner, he was able to empathize and lead the nation. You need to be a follower. So what I would possibly share with all of you, my dear friends, with example of Mahatma Gandhi ji is, he united the entire nation. You need to be a great team builder. Simple, very simple, but very tough. Very tough, because you can play with machines, but playing with human egos, it takes huge task. I'll give a small challenge for all of you. Go back home. It's not a homework. It's not mandatory. try to get, if you're having different mindsets, ask them which movie shall we go. Hindi movie, English movie, Kannada movie, old classical Hindi movie, Godfather style of Hindi movie, Fast and Furious movie, and then get everybody to converge around a single point and go for that common movie. If you can do that, believe me, you have succeeded as a great team leader. Madam is adding on to that. Madam is telling team influencer. Thank you so much, madam. Appreciate that. Okay. The next leader we have is, there you go. How can any presentation on leadership be without the great Nelson Mandela? I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. I repeat it for you. I learned that courage was not the absence of fear, but the triumph over it. The brave man is not he who does not feel afraid, but he who conquers that fear. Leaders rise above the problem. He rose above the problem. Lot of us, I mean, all of you are leaders, I don't discourage, but possibly in the last few years of our life, last 20, 25 years back, when we were small kids, we were actually, very, very fearful. We thought, okay, what will happen if I do this? What is going to happen if I do this? Okay, there's a fear of failure. But then we were not leaders. We are in the process of becoming leaders. If you want to become a great leader, my dear friends, rise, come away out of this fear, rise above the problem. When you rise above the problem, you can see the problem from a holistic viewpoint. You can find a solution. But once you are in the problem, how do you find a solution? You cannot find a solution. You cannot find a solution. You need to rise above the problem. This is what Nelson Mandela did. So my second tenet to you would be, if you want to build leadership skills, rise above the problem. Easier said, but then again, it's all in the mindset. If you start thinking, if the problem gets bigger and bigger, oh God, there's so much, it's not possible for me, then I think you're defeated there. You are good enough to be a manager, but you're not good enough to be a leader. I have one more chocolate problem. I have a chocolate suggestion. There's a famous saying said by Edmund Hillary, looking at the Mount Everest. Does anybody know this? Sir ji, aapko pata hai? Edmund Hillary quote regarding Mount Everest. Arijit Gupta ji, are you there?
Yes, sir, but I don't know.
Thank you so much for your honesty. Honesty is also one of the attributes of a great leader. You're becoming my favorite, Arijit. Anybody else? The fourth chocolate. I'm serious about it. All the chocolates you're going to get. Because I'm giving the offer of chocolate because it's an afternoon time, 2:30, 3:30. It's tough. But yes, the question here is, what is Mount Everest got to do with Edmund Hillary? And it has got to do with this quote, leaders rise above the problem. Anybody wants to try? Just a try. Just a try.
Mindset that I will definitely succeed.
Great. Appreciate it. But looking at the Mount Everest, I'm giving you a small clue. It should lead with leaders rise above the problem. The rise above the problem. Okay, another 5 seconds. Before that, if nobody comes with the answer, but I appreciate that. Well, the famous quote by Edmund Hillary goes like this. He failed almost 5, 6, 7, 8 times. Every time he used to fail, he used to tell, hey, Mount Everest, he used to speak as the Mount Everest was his friend. You cannot get any bigger. You cannot get any bigger. You are at 8848 meters, 8,848 meters. That's it. But I can get bigger by every attempt. I can rise above the problem. You are not going to be more bigger, Mount Everest.
Attitude, sir, excuse me, attitude is,
Yeah,
bigger than
attitude
the
is absolutely there, but he actually thought, Mount Everest is so mind-boggling, but he said, you cannot get bigger. I will rise above this problem, and I'll tell you that today I'm at 8,500. Next time it's going to be 8,600. Finally 8,700, 8,800. Finally, one fine day, I will conquer 8,848. But Mr. Mount Everest, you're not going to get any bigger. The problem, you're going to be there. I am going to rise above the problem every time. And that's where Edmund Hillary conquered Mount Everest. As you said, attitude is there. But with the attitude, you rise above the problem. But if you get totally bogged down by the problem, you're defeated there itself, and possibly you will join the list of those people who fail because of lack of attitude, like you said. So Nelson Mandela for me is rising above the problem. Dogged determination. You have a holistic viewpoint. You rise above the problem, solutions are there. The third one, my favorite hero, Barack Obama. I always go by his famous quote, yes, we can. They have become like three magical words for me. Whenever there's a problem, yes, we can. It starts ringing here, and definitely minds get stuck. Yes, we can. The famous quote, we did not come to fear the future. We came here to shape it. Wow. That's some great statement. We did not come to fear the future. We came here to shape it. But I would want all of us, including myself, to learn the art of communication from him. The way he speaks, clear, precise, up to the point, and he speaks in such a commanding authority, the followers get swayed away. Those three words, when he won his elections, yes, we can, they literally got goosebumps in me also. Just think about the people there at the New York Square, when that can get goosebumps in me. He had a clear, commanding communication skills. So if you all want to develop your leadership skills, you should have great communication skills. I'm not telling you that you should be a great orator, but yes, communication has to be clear, precise, command. And if you can be a great orator, double whammy. Super, excellent. But if you people are not great orators, it doesn't mean that you can't become great leaders. People who speak subtly, but with well-valued thoughts, they also can be influential leaders. Communication is the most important key aspect. My teacher used to tell me, I learned a lot from SDM IMD. If I am not able to communicate what I have in my head to you people who are listening to me, you are not the failures. It's me who's going to be a failure. The biggest challenge for a communicator is not that, okay, I'm speaking, you should understand. No, if you people don't understand, it's my failure. I take the responsibility. I take the onus. So the communication has to be clear. Whatever is there, it has to be transmitted to you. Something similar to a WhatsApp. If it is there, it has to go to your WhatsApp mobile. Then you should have a blue tick. Then I am confirmed that my mobile has sent you a communication. Similarly, whatever I have in my head today, I need to communicate to all of you, my dear friends. If at all a small iota of doubt is still there in you, not your failure, it's my failure. So that's the heart of communication. If you can develop communication skills, nothing like that. Speaking skills and writing skills. Okay, the next skill is our own madam from Karnataka, Bangalore. She's a pride of entire world, Sudhamuthi ma'am. I had the privilege of working with her also. I was a nodal officer for IIIT Dharwad, and I was given the responsibility of setting up IIIT Dharwad along with IIIT Raichur. IIIT stands for Indian Institute of Information Technology, Dharwad. She's the chairperson, and I was representing the government. She's an amazing. I mean, she was so empathetic and compassionate. The way she speaks, whenever she speaks, she actually keeps the other person in mind. What best I can do for them. And I was very, very touched when she asked me, Praveen ji, IIIT Dharwad total budget is 128 crores. And how much is pending? I said, ma'am, we have paid the 30 crores. Another 10 crores is pending. And what she said was literally an eye-opener for me. She said, we have spent 28 crores from Sudhamuti Foundation for the ladies' hostel there. I was surprised because that's a contribution. Because some leaders, they do it without any big show off. She said, we have constructed the ladies' hostel, 28 crores. And I would appreciate, Mr. Praveen ji, if government also releases the last tranche of 8 crores. I was moved. Here we are talking of 6 crores, 10 crores, third quarter, second quarters. I said, ma'am, yes, ma'am, we are greatly influenced by your noble deed. And we'll do that. That is one of the small tip of the icebergs, whatever she has done. She has done so much. So what I learned from her was, you need to be empathetic. You need to be compassionate. What a foundation is doing. Because my madam is totally, a great soul, I would say, whatever she has been doing. So I, for one, would always learn something from madam in terms of being compassionate and being empathetic. I would request all of you, if you want to be a good leader, if you want to develop leadership skills, first and foremost, you need to understand other person's perspective. You need to look from other person's viewpoint. If you can look from other person's viewpoint, there will not be any conflict at all. For example, if this is a mobile, you can see a blue one. I will ask you, what do you see blue here? If I say it's black, you will say it's blue. You're also right from your end. I'm also right from my end. If only I saw this from a different perspective, then I can see your perspective. I will understand that, yes, boss, you are also right. It does look blue from your end. From my end, it looks black. It does look blue from your end. So there we are. I can see things from your viewpoint and I'm empathetic to your cause. When I am empathetic to your cause, I'm compassionate. When I'm compassionate, I start doing things which is good for you, me, and everyone. So that's what Sudhamuti actually has been teaching for all of us. Be compassionate, be empathetic. The next slide is, I'm a great fan of this great gentleman, J.R.D. Tata. I'm just telling you, if I'm not taking the pics of these people, don't feel offended. These are my personal favorites. You might be having different favorites. But for me, this gentleman is honesty personified. He understands the need of the people. What is the statement? I don't believe in taking right decisions. I don't believe in taking right decisions. I would rather take decisions and then make them right. That's soft at the center. We all possibly had a feeling. Way back in 88, Maruti 800 was the car. After that, Maruti 1000 ST - all of us were thinking about Maruti's 5 lakh plus, 6 lakhs plus, 4 lakh plus. But he understood the pulse of the nation. He designed a car which can fit into the budgetary requirements of common Indian, less than a lakh car. Everybody else was thinking about big cars, scaling it up. Here was a guy who thought out of the box, who thought about the needs of the people. If you can think about the needs of the people, my dear friends, you are already a great leader. All of you included. If you're already thinking about the needs of people, I'm assuring you, you're already a great leader. Whatever be it. If you have 25 people in the organization, if you're already thinking about the needs of them, you're already a leader. Forget about whether you're going to make that need, you're going to fulfill the needs in another 3 months or 6 months. But if you're thinking on those terms, you are already leader. So J.R.D. Tata for me is a person who actually is very, very tall, and he stands really tall because he always thought about the needs of the entire nation, the needs of the common man, and there we had the Nano. The world was talking about Lamborghinis and Ferrari, wherein the people were thinking about niche market. They're thinking about Lamborghinis for the few. But here was a guy who was thinking about entire country's requirement. If a guy with 5 lakhs can get a car, why can't a guy with 1 lakh get a car? Why can't a guy with 80,000 get a car? And here is the champion. You take care of the need of the people. If you can do it, my dear friends, you are already there. You are already there. I'm just time check. Yeah, please. Okay. So that's J.R.D. Tata for me. Always thinking about the needs of the nation. These two gentlemen, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. They changed the way we do business. They literally changed. Bill Gates was a visionary. Steve Jobs was again a different vision. What I actually learned from these people are they learned continuously. Leaders learn continuously. They adapt to the evolving situations. They work on skill enhancement. Bill Gates never stopped at it. I was wondering as a guy who was doing this engineering. Sir, you're also from computer science? Industrial science. We had this Microsoft 3, 4 version, 5 version, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. What's happening here? Why was the necessity of 4? Why was the necessity of 5, 6? Because Bill Gates was the market leader. Microsoft was the market leader. When you are a market leader, why do you want to actually go on innovating, learn something extra? 5 version, Windows 5 version, Windows version 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Why? Leaders always learn continuously. If they want to lead the corporates, you have to enhance your skills every day. The moment you start decaying, my dear friends, you become obsolete. The best example I can give you about a product going obsolete is Nokia. When we started the phones, it was Nokia, geometry box style tha, bada geometry box style. But what happened? They didn't enhance their skills. They were not aware of the competition. They thought we have captured the entire market. So there we are, no necessity of worrying about it. We already captured the market. We are the market leader. And what happened? All the other competitors, Samsung, you name the other companies, the mobiles, they came and captured the market. So Bill Gates was not belong to that flock. He belonged to a flock where he decided that if I have to survive in this market, if I have to be a leader in this market, I need to constantly innovate. And that is what he did. And there we have a leader who is always innovating. So if you people want to develop your skills, don't sit on your laurels. I'm not telling it to you, I'm telling it to myself also. Mr. Praveen, don't sit on your laurels. Keep on innovating, keep on excelling, keep on learning more and more and more and more. There is something to learn from somebody. There's something to learn from madam here. There's something to learn from sir here. There's something to learn from an ordinary common man. Everybody teaches us because we are social animals. We are going to have influence. We are going to influence and we are going to be influenced by everybody else. It's a 360-degree world out over there. So if you want to be a leader in the corporate setup, you have to understand the pulse of the market. We had a Facebook. We thought Facebook is everything. Oh, if you have Facebook. Come WhatsApp, Facebook starts shaking. It starts shaking. The Facebook, which was hitherto thought undefeatable, got so shaky, it acquired WhatsApp. So that's an hallmark, because Facebook thought, I need to get this guy along. There's one common saying, if you can't beat them, join them. If you can't beat them, join them. Facebook, उठा लिया, WhatsApp. Similar thing, Byju's, Akash को ले लिया. Oh, this guy is a competitor, उसको भी ले लो. Take him along. So, I mean, their marketing skills, their communication, that's what is actually. Beat them. If you can't beat them, join. But what I want to drive home here is, Bill Gates was a continuous learner. And how can this topic on leadership go without a mention on Steve Jobs? He's my favorite. I'll tell you, he's my favorite. Just because of that one liner that has changed my life. Can anybody tell? We'll have the fifth chocolate. Steve Jobs' famous lines. Anybody? Ma'am is trying for a chocolate here. She's selling, staying hungry, stay foolish. Appreciated, ma'am, but you can give off chocolate. But that one liner, it changed my life, my dear friends. And
He said work.
Work, yeah.
He said work as if it is your last day.
I appreciate that. You should get 3/4 of chocolates. Work as if it's your last day. Wonderful, good one. But connecting the dots. But what actually impressed me the most, madam and sir, here is your time is limited. Your time is limited. Don't try to live the life of somebody else's dreams. Shocking, mesmerizing. The time is limited. Don't try to live the life following, realizing somebody else's dreams. Arey yaar, maybe aisa hi karta tha. Though I was an electronics engineer, I wanted to be a doctor, I wanted to be a civil servant. I was trying to live the dream of my mother. She wanted me to be an electronics engineer. And I was thinking, arey maa hai, Indian sentiments. Maa ka sentiment hai. Okay, chalo yaar. Why do you want to, make her feel bad? Okay, mom, we'll do it for you. At that time, there was nobody to actually guide us. I was living the life of my mother's dreams. I'm not telling it's wrong, but now, after having entered my 40s, I feel it's your life. You have to follow your life. You have to follow your dreams. Realize your dreams. I'm not debating that following mom's dreams is wrong, but if it coincides that your dreams and your mom's dreams are okay, super, excellent. But my dream was to become a doctor. I started living the dreams of my mother. But this gentleman gave me a torch-like directions. He said, your time is limited, my dear Mr. Praveen. Why the hell are you living the dream of somebody else? Tera life hai. That guy changed me. If out of all these few slides leaders, if I had to take one guy, this guy, he has changed the way I look at life. He has changed the way I visualize my life. I've decided, yes, I'm going to lead my life and also take care of my family members, my kids, my wife, and other people. But a lot of people who entered the 40s, they have a different mindset. Arey yaar, mera life khatam ho chuka. My life is gone. I'm going to live the life only for my kids. No, nothing wrong. But you also need to answer yourself. Self-love is also important. So for me, what I actually learned from Steve Jobs is the value of time, how you utilize your time. Because whatever happens, death is certain. It's a reverse countdown. The countdown has started. And for that matter, okay, you say 10 years, I had 10 years, sir. Hardly 3,650 days. Okay, you had 20 more years, another 7,000 days. All of a sudden, life looks very, very short. 20 years, 7,000 days, gone. For a guy who is at 40 like me, another 20 is 60, 7,000 days more to go. And whoever is in 30s, add another 3,500 days, 10,000 days. So our time is limited. So let's enjoy the process. I'm not deviating from the topic, but yes, I want to thank this guy for changing my attitude towards life. We don't live till 100 years. We live productively till maybe 70, 70, whatever it is. So leaders continuously adapt themselves to evolving situations. They work on skill enhancement. You want to enhance your skills? This is the day, my dear friend. Don't procrastinate. Don't wait for tomorrow. You start learning your skills from today itself. If not today, right now. Go and enhance your skills. Whatever it requires, learn. Be adaptable, be more employable, whatever it is. Keep learning continuously. Okay, that's about transformation leaders.
10 minutes.
How much?
10 minutes.
4?
4, 5.
Okay. Ma'am is telling me that we have 10 minutes more to go, and after I'll just take you through my real lifetime experiences. I was a nodal officer for Startup Cell Department of IT and BT. This is where we drafted the startup policy of Government of Karnataka. This was a wonderful opportunity for me to interact with the best of brains across the world. We actually interacted with Startup America also, Startup Israel, and we interacted with German, Finland startups, Netherlands startups. So we got to understand everything, it was more of a melting pot of a kind, we actually got to understand the best, just like our Indian Constitution. It has been derived from the best of each of the American Constitution, England Constitution, things like that. We could derive the best from other players in the market, and we had a great policy. And then that itself is a different topic. But whatever startup policy we have in Government of Karnataka right now, as of now, I'm proud to say that I was in the drafting committee, and we rolled out something for the entire nation as such. The second part is Yadgir Taluk. I was a nodal officer for Yadgir Taluk under Nanjundappa Committee. What does this Nanjundappa Committee actually mean for people outside Karnataka? Nanjundappa Committee actually identified almost 39 most backward taluks. And I had the privilege of working as a nodal officer for the second most backward taluk in Karnataka, absolutely backward. And I was appointed as a lifetime nodal officer, which I am still a nodal officer. We actually went there for almost 3 months. We did a ground analysis. We actually spoke to all the villages, and I gave 2 suggestions. The suggestions was about the rooftop solar. Because when we went to Yadgir Taluk, it was absolutely backward, nothing to actually boast about, but there was something in abundance. That was the sunlight. So we thought about it. There's something in abundance. It's renewable. It's not exhaustible. So we gave a suggestion saying that every household in Gulbarga, Yadgir Taluk should have a rooftop solar system wherein these people are going to feed Bangalore in terms of electricity. They're not going to consume electricity. They're going to be self-sufficient, and they're going to feed Bangalore. So this was again, one of my experiences working as a nodal officer. So there we could influence the politicians and the ministers to have a rooftop solar system. The third one was my role when I was a district officer to monitor relief and rehabilitation activities during 2019 floods. This again was absolutely heartbreaking stories. You could see a lot of people dying, bodies flowing across. But yes, I had the privilege of working as a nodal officer for rehabilitation and resettlement. I could use all my, good officer skills, bureaucratic skills. I could do something over there. So whatever leadership skills I've learned from these people and other people, and I'm still a learner. I'm not telling that I'm an absolutely, I would say it's a continuous process. I'm still on that process. So Averi was one example wherein I could utilize that. The last slide in my real life examples is about officer on special duty. When I was an officer to Chief Secretary, Madam Ratnaprabha. If I don't tell this, that would be great injustice. There was one small incident which happened in my office tenure. A lady, I was actually handling all the public grievances of entire Karnataka, and people who used to come to Madam had a policy that she had made me the public grievance officer. All the Karnataka public grievances were actually looked after by me. And if I was not able to solve, I used to take that problem to Madam. And I used to see that I used to solve all the problems. One particular case I want to mention here is, there was one lady who had actually lost her husband. And I'll just make it simple for you. It was something like 2017, January, if he had died. She had a time of 1 year before December 2017 to apply for a compensatory job. Unfortunately, she was not aware of this 1 year rule. She applied for a job in the second year. And when she came to my office, I spoke to the concerned officers. They said, sir, it's Madakagala. In the sense, sir, we can't do it because 1 year has actually lapsed. So she had come in the month of March 2018. So then I told her, madam, sorry, though my heart tells that I need to help you out, the 1 year mandatory rules doesn't allow you to actually apply for a job. But then somewhere my heart was telling me, kuch karna hai, something needs to be done. So I went to madam and asked madam, what to do? Rules doesn't allow. Madam said only one thing. Praveen, rules are meant for normal flow. Rules are not everything. There is a case-to-case study. This case requires to be taken as a special case before the chief minister and put it for the cabinet meeting. She said one thing, we officers should have empathy, should have compassion. We need to alter rules, but in a legal manner. And that opened my eyes. Then I started believing that, yes, I learned something from madam, true real life experience. And that's the reason why she's hailed as the greatest officer in Karnataka. And she's hailed as a very, very good human being because she was compassionate to the core and it was coming from her heart. And I learned certain things from her, which I've been following. And whenever a person comes to me, I listen to that person first. So this is something which I learned from madam. And I also a social welfare minister. I think time is short. We'll get on to the next slide, the last slide for the day. What are the 10 commandments? Ma'am, how many, 5 minutes? Yeah, the 10 commandments. So just to brush up, the leaders are great communicators. Obviously, Barack Obama. Leaders continuously. Can I have you? Yes, yes. Can I just push this side? Yeah, got it. Leaders are great communicators. One, leaders continuously work on self-development. We spoke on that at length. Leaders understand the need of their followers. Yes, we had example of Ratan Tata ji. Leaders are empathetic and compassionate. Sudhamuti madam, we spoke about that. Leaders always lead from the front. They lead by example. We had the example of Mahatma Gandhi ji and Nelson Mandela ji. And leaders have to be followers in the first place. We actually talked about that also. Leaders assess the situation and act accordingly. They continuously sharpen the saw. I think we touched this also. Continuously sharpening the saw is one of the skills which I actually do. Every month, I take stock of my situation. What are my weaknesses? What are the areas I need to improve upon? Is there something which I need to focus on? Are there any lacunae? Are there something which I need to enhance my skills? I actually sharpen the saw. If it is blunt, I need to focus that. Sometime back, I used to read a lot. All of a sudden, because of mental pressure and work, I was not reading much. So I started reading much and I started writing a book also. So one of the books is going to come out in the very future. It's regarding startups. And it is a great team builders. We have dwelt on that also. The 9th and 10th, 5 minutes. Okay. Leaders are like captain of the ship. The 5th chocolate for the day goes here, my dear friends. Can somebody tell me what is the captain of the ship got to leadership? What is this? Praveen is bowling in Google, like googling. What is this captain of the ship got to do with leadership? Anybody tell me, please? Why have I used this leaders like captain of the ship?
They take the ship in the right direction. They take the team in the right direction.
Great. They take the team in that direction. Even the pilots do it. Even the car bus driver also does it.
Having entire responsibility of success and failure.
I have an answer. Leaders.
Ma'am, who is this online?
Eunice here.
Eunice.
Yeah. Captain of the ship what he does is when there's a storm, ensures to adjust the sails, ensures to whatever they pilot or they drive or whatever they do it in the right way, so that along with the storm they can reach the goal. In spite of the storm.
You said storm, and there is a storm. The ship is drowning. Then
the captain of the ship, a leader is
expected to lead the team and to make the decisions, while they can keep the best interests of the team in mind.
All of you are coming very, very close. I think the fifth chocolate is going to be divided into 10 pieces now.
Sir, I have one more answer.
Yeah, please.
Leader is one who is having a proper vision, and so accordingly he will devise the strategies and direct the day-to-day operations to be done in that direction.
Okay. All of you are very much there. You're all good leaders. Yeah, please.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, we have another 3 minutes to go. Please go ahead.
Sir, the leader is the one who guide everyone.
Okay, great. Appreciate it. Whatever you are telling is absolutely right. But for me to give you that chocolate, the answer was something like this. You have seen the movie Titanic? There's a storm. The ship actually hits iceberg and it is capsizing. It's going down. It's getting drowned. When the ship is getting drowned, who is the last person to get out of the ship? Yes. The captain is not the person who is trying to save himself first. His job is to see that he puts everybody else on the lifeboat, and he should be the last person to get out of the ship. If you have that attitude, my dear friends, that of a captain of the ship, you are going to be a world-class leader right from today. This much I can tell you. You should be like a captain of the ship, wherein you put everybody else in times of distress. If you can do this, hats off to you. If you can become a captain of ship, you are already there. No need of becoming any, no need of possibly trying to understand other skills. If you are having that attitude, you are already there. Last one for the day. Leaders have a positive mindset and they have a solution-centric approach. All said and done, for this to happen, you have 1.5 kgs of brain here. This will decide what is the mindset you have. Today, I might have taken a class for 1.5 hours to 1 hour 45 minutes. But after this class, if you go with the mindset saying that, this will not happen for me, then nobody can possibly help you out. But this brain should tell you, yes, if Salman Khan can build a body with so much of mass, simply because he's working on his muscle mass. He's not working on my muscle mass, nor your muscle mass. You have to deal with your brains. Salman Khan is dealing with this muscle. You deal with your brains. You tell your brain, you feed your brain. Yes, I have decided to be a world-class leader. Come what may, I will definitely be a world-class leader. I stay away from negative people and I'll be with positive people only, because this is not my brain or madam's brain or his brain, sir's brain. It is your brain. If that lets you down, you're gone. But if that tells you that I'm going to be a world-class leader, nobody can stop you from becoming a world-class leader. And on that front, thank you so much. If you have any questions, I'm ready to take your questions. Please go ahead. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. We'll have another 5 minutes for your question and answer sessions. Please go ahead. Are we done with time? 4:30? No time, how much? Yeah. Any questions, answers? Because we have time till 4:15. That's what madam is telling. So we have 5 chocolates. I request sir and madam to take that seriously, because I'm a very serious promiser. So we'll share those 5 chocolates. And thank you so much, dear friends. Any questions regarding leadership styles, you're free to ask. But all said and done, you also can become a world-class leader, because it's a continuous process. Because Mr. Praveen, the Assistant Commissioner right now, who's sitting in front of you, I was ordinary, MBA grad, just working in a TVS company. But then I also thought of becoming a civil servant. and I am a civil servant because I had a vision and I had a mission also. And that was one of the most important thing. I should have had it here. Leaders should have a vision and a mission. So what I actually mean by vision is you have a plan for 20 years. What am I going to do in next 20 years? That's a long-term goal. And you have a short-term goal. What am I going to do in the next 10 years? And you have interim midterm goals, 1-year goals. So how do I do that? And one thing I missed out, which I always allow. So if you have a 20 years goal, and if you have a big task on hand that's becoming leaders, you always can break down into small parts. You have realistic goals. Now, if I tell that I'm going to be the best runner and I'm going to be a 9.58 second runner, it's impossible because that's Usain Bolt's world record. I can't break that. But then yes, I can improvise upon myself. Last small tip, if I can possibly share with all of you, my dear friends, is this is outside the record. I, for one, have discovered of late, because this is the era of collaboration. It's not competition, because we have a Maruti, we have a Suzuki, they come and conquer the entire market. We have a Star Sports and we have a ESPN. They were competing with each other. They collaborated because collaboration is the name of the game. And with collaboration, you have a lot of synergy. You can do so much. If you are having a friend who is unique in something, you collaborate with him. So I just missed out on that. So leaders collaborate also. Okay. On that front, I think not many questions are not there. Ma'am, I think we can wind this up. Yeah. Thank you so much. Any questions? I'm always there. And 5 chocolates, please. Yes. Take those people. I have a question. Yes, sir has got a question. Yeah.
Sir, is it possible for us to mimic leadership?
Mimic leadership.
Mimic leadership. You just look at a person and then get inspired and then copy it.
So, sir has got a wonderful question here. Sir is telling that can somebody mimic somebody, in the sense copy and become like that? See, I would always tell you, it's my personal experience. You learn from them, but follow your own style. You learn from them, but follow your own style. For example, I have studied the style of Barack Obama speech, but I have my own style. I don't speak like him. I don't speak in his accent, but his body language, the way, the gestures, the way he looks at different set of people, the way he communicates, because public speaking is more about body language. So I learned a lot from him. But when I actually give a talk, it's about my own style. There's nothing which stops you from not learning from the best of best. For example, Virendra Sehwag, he always tells, I learned something from Srikanth, but he has got his own style. So Sehwag doesn't follow Srikanth's style, but they're all master blasters. So you cannot copycat, because you are unique. You are yourself. But nothing bars you from learning the best of styles. Nothing bars you from learning the best of practices across the globe. If Bill Gates is doing something good, why don't you practice it? But when you deliver it, you have your own fashion. Just because of Barack Obama is an American president, he speaks American accent. I don't speak in his style. I follow my style. So that's my answer to you, sir. You follow the best, but you be yourself. You're unique. Be yourself. Thank you so much. Pleasure.
Sir, I have a question here.
Yeah, your name, please.
Sir, I'm Prabha.
Yes, Prabha.
Yes. Sir, the question is, you said there are people who are capable of, but they don't want to do. So we need to
capable.
them the participative.
Very
yes,
normal.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes. So if they are also trying to pull others down, where the others are trying to reach greater height, but they are pulling them down. So how is that we need to handle with them?
See, this is basically a mindset approach. The mindset approach is.
Sorry, sir, there is a echo.
Yeah.
There is echo.
This is a mindset approach. If I am a leader, and if you are a leader, and if you are handling that person, you need to understand his perspective. Why is he behaving like that? Why is he not being open enough to share his thoughts with you? Do you, as a leader, do you have an open atmosphere in the organization? Chances are there that you might possibly be taking all your credit yourself. If you are sharing the credit with him, then possibly you would be forthcoming. you know, or if his nature is that like he wants to garner all the credit unto himself, then you need to build team building activities. What actually happens in team building activities is you don't tell a person, hey, Mr. Ramesh, you gel with Suresh. That's not the way we do team building. What we do is subtly we put them in a team building exercise. For example, you take the example of Cristiano Ronaldo. He's the world's greatest goal scorer now. Is it possible for him to score goals on his own? There are 11 players. I'm not taking example of cricket. Defender has to pass the ball to the midfielder. Midfielder has to pass the ball to the forward. Cristiano Ronaldo is a forward and he scores the goals. What if the defender thought that all the goals are being scored by Cristiano Ronaldo? Why should I pass the goal? Then what happens? Selfishness sets in. You want the team to win. So you have a role play. The role play of a defender is defend the goal. And he has to pass the ball to the midfielder. Midfielder passes the ball to Cristiano Ronaldo, who in turn scores the goal. So the defender should have a feeling that my job is to pass the ball. Let me do my role clearly. Sure enough, Cristiano Ronaldo is going to take all the limelight. Similarly, in your organization also, one person is definitely going to take all the limelight. Take the example of a movie. The director, the spot boys, there are people who work behind. But who takes the credit? The actor and the actress. If you see a Hindi movie, Kannada movie, whatever it is, Amitabh Bachchan becomes a star. But the spot boys, the makeup man who has made a wonderful makeup for Amitabh Bachchan, they've forgotten it. So for you to become a great leader, that's what I said. Your car has to move forward. You should be ready to sit in the back seat. If you can have that bada dil, broad-minded, broad heart, and if you want the vehicle to move forward, otherwise what happens? You want to drive the car, he wants to drive the car. You want to drive the car, you want to drive the car, will be there itself. Nobody will drive the car. The best thing is, you drive the car. I want my team to win. And when you do this, you actually become a great leader. Just try this. You allow other people, you nurture other people. Leaders nurture. This is the hallmark of a great leader. Don't ever think that if you're nurturing somebody, you are a follower. This is the greatest skill of a leader. They allow other peoples to grow, and in the process, they grow themselves. If you're doing this, you already have 10 and 10s, 20s of people following you on. So it's not sacrifice, it's building a team. For that, you need to have informal association, informal gatherings. You need to take them out of the workplace, take them somewhere else, then get them along and build a rapport. Obviously, there's going to be a culture shock. There are going to be different mindsets. But the hallmark of a great leader is get different mindset, work for a common goal. So if you can see from his perspective, okay, fine. He's not billing. Tell him, boss, you drive the vehicle, yeah? The vehicle is moving. What is better for you? Vehicle stop and you and that gentleman fight for each other? Or you tell, hey, chalo yaar, this time you do it, next time I'll do it. This week you run the vehicle, next week I'll do that. Make him part of that process. The problem comes when the leader, the so-called leader, tries to pin that person down. And when he is part of the decision-making process, he feels that decision is his. He feels important because you're already a leader and you're already important. Okay, so that person, you make him feel important because that is the best way of answering the ego. If you ask me what is the other part of, I need to take a class on ego management for 2 hours. How do you answer ego? How do you manage ego? Because that we are getting into philosophy also. Because everything is possible in this world, you know, and handling ego, that's the greatest part of it. If you can tell, okay, yaar, chalo yaar, tu chala gadi, I'll sit in the back seat. If you can do this, you have won the race. Thank you so much, Prabhavati. Yeah.
Wonderful, wonderful, sir. Wonderful for the good presentation indeed.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
done. Thanks all of you.
Yeah. Any clarifications or questions from the participants?
Yes, sir. I want to ask, I have a query. Sir, a person who have many of the commandment of the leadership, but due to the lack of confidence, or we can say due to the fear to take a decision that it might be the decision can be go wrong, so that he not come in front to play the role. So how we can improve this type of the quality of the fear, how we can remove the fear type of the, negativity.
My teacher used to tell me, when I was in the 8th standard, I did my schooling in St. Paul's High School, Belgaum. And when I used to do this, we had this elocution. Then when I used to go there, I used to look up, to the ceiling. I used to do this elocution and I used to look up to the ceiling. Da, 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 da. Then teacher asked me, what's your problem? I said, I told my teacher, I have this stage fear. I have a fear. Then how do I overcome that? She said one thing. What is your fear? What's your fear? Going and speaking in the stage, on the stage. You have the fear, then do that more. You take it head on. You catch the bull by the horns. What is causing you fear? Do that more. You have a fear of water, go and dive into the water. Until and unless you do that, nobody can teach you swimming. If you have fear of water, dive. Get into that. You have a stage fear, you go to the stage and do it. Do some practices, mock practices, whatever it is, maybe in front of family, whatever it is. Find out that fear and do it more. Face it. Head on. First time people will laugh. Second time there will be some improvement. Third time people will laugh. But fourth time you have already conquered the fear. If you think there's a quick magical formula, there's no magical formula. Confidence comes when you do it more. Practice, 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 practice. Do that 10 times. Best thing I'll tell you. Recently, there was an article from some excellence theories. If you can master some skills for 10,000 hours, you become a master. You want to become the greatest guitarist the world has ever produced. Spend 10,000 hours on the guitar skills. You become the greatest guitarist. You want to become the best batsman like Tendulkar. Practice for 10,000 quality hours. Challenge is you will become a great batsman. So anything you want to master 10,000 quality hours. Now you get into the mathematics. 10,000 quality hours is how many days you get into that part. But the answer here is, if something is causing you fear, the best thing is take it head on and conquer it. I have done that. I was not so good a speaker during my school days. But then again, whenever I got a chance, I started speaking. But by the time I was in 10th standard, I was already a college speaker. I was already going for international, different school competitions. We started winning many debates, competitions. So whatever is the reason, you focus it, kill it. That's it. But all said and done, you should have a proper mindset. The last commandment. Yeah.
So I just want to know,
yeah.
Do leaders thrive for acknowledgement? And second, can someone be unsuccessful and still be considered as a leader?
See, the second part, I'll take the question first. Can someone be unsuccessful and still be a leader? Okay. Now, whatever we see, they're all successful leaders. Just go and try to ask them. In all your 1,000 attempts or maybe 100 attempts, have you been successful throughout? Definitely not. All the successful leaders would have possibly come through failures. Maybe very rare, minuscule percentage would have been successful throughout. But for me, when you fail, you find out the best way of not doing it. And you find out a different way. So failure is the stepping stone to success. I was also a failure initially, but then I became a leader. So there's no harm in it. See.
Thank you very much, sir, for handling a wonderful session on how to build leadership skills with all the real life illustrations on how to build the leadership skills has been elaborated. And honestly, sir, it's been a pleasure to have you